point number 6 can be found in verse 12 of 1 Kings chapter 5. And verse 12 tells us that there was a treaty that was put together by Solomon and Hiram. Let me read that to you. In verse 12 it says, "The Lord gave Solomon wisdom just as he had promised him. There were peaceful relations between Hiram and Solomon, and the two of them made a treaty." So my 6th point to you is, put down everything the Lord shows you, all your proposals, all your plans, clearly in writing. According to a Bible commentary, it says, this mutually profitable treaty is described as bringing peaceful relations. In fact, it brought harmonious relationships of trade and goodwill, according to the commentary. That's the NIV Bible commentary. So often people come to me for prayer and they say, "Pastor, I got into a business deal and now I have been played out and I don't know what to do. Can you help? Or can you speak to the person?" And the first question I generally ask, because I don't know too much about business, the first question I ask is there anything in writing? And it shocks me that so often people tell me, "No, Pastor, I didn't put it down in writing because I trusted that person." My friend, in today's world, you cannot do business like that. You cannot do your proposals like that. There has to be something in writing, even a small document, that you can hold on to in case somebody tries to defraud you in the work you are doing. So whatever the Lord speaks to you, the vision He gives you, put it down in writing. And if it has to be a partnership of any form, make sure that a reasonably proper contract is put down. That brings me to point number 7. Let's look at what this treaty was all about. 1 Kings chapter 5 and verse 6 tells us something very unique about this treaty. It says, "So give orders that cedars of Lebanon be cut for me. My men will work with yours, and I will pay you for your men whatever wages you set. You know that we have no one so skilled in felling timber as the Sidonians." So if you look at this treaty and if you read through the whole treaty, you'll find that there was a clear, specific plan put down, and it was a win-win situation for both parties. Both were going to benefit by this treaty. It was a great deal for both parties, and it was very specific. Let me just explain what it was like. Hiram would provide the timber. The timber was the cedars of Lebanon, pine trees and algum trees. And Solomon in return would pay Hiram for his household with wheat and olive oil, and he would pay the laborers or the labor force wheat, barley, wine and olive oil. Besides that, he would also give a 30,000 labor force to work with Hiram. So it was a win-win situation. The plan was very clear, it was specific, and therefore it was going to succeed well. My friend, when you get into any partnership or any plan, make sure that you're not the only one who benefits from it. Bring others into the picture. Let them know that they too can benefit. Even in the church, when I do some project or we try something new, I'm always careful to give credit to the team, because I believe that the people who come up with the ideas and the thoughts and put it into action are the ones who should deserve the credit. Isn't it true? They say that bad leaders are people who take credit when everything goes well, and they don't give that credit to their team, but they are very good at finding scapegoats when things go wrong. I hope we will not be like that. Also in this treaty, you find another important factor, and that is that all income does not have to be a form of monetary. It doesn't have to be monetary or the change of money or a cash flow. We can be blessed in so many other ways. For instance, if you take care of having a proper balanced diet and regular exercise, your health bills will come down in the future. If you cut down on unnecessary transportation, your fuel bills will come down. if you are careful to switch off lights and an aircon, or even your water if you have a leak sometimes, if you are careful to repair that quickly, your utility bills will come down, and you are the one who will be blessed. Let me share from a personal example. When my second son was 1 year old, Sharmaya, he developed severe eczema, and for a number of years he really suffered with this. It was real challenge for him and for us, and he was very small at that time. Eventually, after many doctors, we went to a doctor at Lanka Hospital, and this doctor asked us to use moisturizing lotion that we had never tried before. And hey presto, it worked very well. Now, it worked very well, we were very happy, but there was one huge problem. It was very expensive. In fact, we had to use roughly 3 bottles a month, and the cost of it came to over 10,000 rupees. Now that's beside all the other medications. I don't know why, but skin treatments are generally very expensive. So after a couple of months, I realized I could not sustain this, but he needed it. So I asked God to guide me, to help me in this matter. We don't ask help from anyone, we go by faith. And as a result, I started checking up on this lotion, and I found out that this lotion was produced in Australia. And when I checked the prices in Australia, I was absolutely shocked, because the price in Australia for double the size of what we were paying, 3,500 a bottle, was virtually 1/5 the cost. Double the amount for 1/5 the cost, maybe 1/4 the cost. And I thought to myself, boy, this is an answer to prayer. And from that day to today, we have not bought a single bottle of that lotion in Sri Lanka. In fact, we traveled to Australia a couple of times. Regina's parents traveled a couple of times. Regina's brother lives in Australia, and he sends us on and off. And once or twice, friends of ours who are coming down from Australia, knowing that we needed this, were gracious enough to bring us a bottle or two. So, as we look back over these past maybe 7-8 years of not buying that in Sri Lanka, I think we have probably saved more than 500,000 rupees for that one item. And that was a great saving that would go towards taking care of our children's educational needs, or their health needs, or some of the things that they like to have, or some of our food needs, because it was a huge saving on our part. Let me go to point number 8, and that is that Solomon was willing to pay well. He said, you can ask whatever you want for wages and I will pay it. And I think all of you are saying, boy, I wish I had a boss like Solomon. And that's so important, my friend. When you are thinking of payment, if you are paying people, pay them adequately. Ensure that those who work hard under your team are also compensated well. And ask God for ways and means to make that happen. Solomon was very careful to ensure that his team and Hiram's team were paid well. Which brings me to point number 9. Point number 9 tells us that Solomon provided for the lack of skill that his team had. In fact, he got a master craftsman to be sent from Tyre that would train his team. He outsourced some of the stuff he needed, mainly the timber, and he was willing to work with others or to get his team proper training. Too often we find that people are in jobs that they are not adequately trained for. And I pray that in this time, especially because we are not sure of our future, we are not sure whether we'll have a job, we are not sure how much of a salary will be paid. Most of our bonuses may be cut, or our allowances may be cut. One thing you could do during this lockdown time is to make sure that you train yourself in a new skill, so that you can have an additional skill if necessary, even to bring in an extra income. I was reading some articles from experts in the field of business, and according to what they were saying, some of the things that will really flourish after COVID-19 or post-COVID-19 are things like agriculture, food security, health matters, health equipment, robotics, deliveries, printing, packaging, e-learning, e-teaching, other technology matters, even things like rubber. So as you look at what these people are saying, maybe you can train yourself in some sort of a skill by which you can apply. You know, if you have skill, nobody can put you down. Many years ago, actually in 2015, I started a blog to put my sermons and my devotionals. And I didn't have any knowledge of the internet, of technology. In fact, if you ask my ministry colleagues, I was the last person to even have a mobile phone. In fact, Pastor Dishan virtually forced that phone into my hand. Because I thought it was not for me. I didn't understand anything. So when I thought of starting a blog, I was the last person capable of doing that on our team. But I thank God that God brought a friend into my life who had the skill to teach me what I wanted to teach me. His name was Pastor Johan Pereira. He's on our media team. And Pastor Johan very graciously not only set up my blog for me, but also gave me some of the expertise I needed. And over the years, now it's almost 5 years, I have been improving on learning that. So that many things today, when I have to do, I don't have to go to Pastor Johan. I can do it. But whenever I need it, I can still talk to him, and he allows me to have some of his expertise to handle it. Recently, I heard of a young boy who was, released. He was training in a hotel. He was released from his training period because of COVID, and he was bored at home and no income. So he decided to put his training into action, and I think it was in bakery. So he started doing some bakery products at home for his neighbors. You know, at the beginning of COVID and the lockdown, people couldn't get groceries properly, and they were looking for even bakery items. So he was providing to his neighborhood. But eventually people liked his work so much that they were talking to others, and now I believe that he has a online delivery service that operates in Colombo. New ideas, new skills, and that skill you have should be built into a thing of quality, even a new skill you have. Let's look at Solomon and Hiram. The wood that Solomon asked was the very best, because the cedars of Lebanon were used to build royal homes and royal palaces. And in verse 6, Solomon tells Hiram, you have the best people who can cut and dress the timber in the best possible way. My men are not good at this job, but you have the best. The Sidonians were the best at that job. And Solomon told Hiram, therefore get your men, the Sidonians, to cut the timber for me. In fact, even the stones that were cut out for the building were dressed to quality. So, provide for lack of skill, learn a new skill, and also work towards improving your quality. Recently, Regina was talking to one of our friends, a lady, and I also took a little time to say hi to her and to pray with her. And I asked her where her husband was. And she said that her husband was teaching an English class for IELTS to some people online, for which they were paying him. And he was getting an income, and as a result, they also were learning the language or English. And I thought, what a great way to do things in this time. So work towards improving skills, work towards improving quality.